The right core values will not only guide you, they will define you. They will shape you into who you become and ultimately the life that you will lead. Identifying and selecting your core values is not as easy and straightforward as it might sound. And they have to be strategically in alignment with who you are authentically and the purpose that you're here to fulfill. Hello and welcome. This meeting that we're having here right now can be a life-changing moment for you if you choose to pay attention. Today, we're going to unlock your inner badass. I'm going to give you the framework that fits the key that will unlock your true potential. No bull here. Now, it will be up to you whether you use that key to unlock the door. I want to tell you about a really good friend of mine. I would go as far as to say is that he's probably one of my life's very best friends. His name is Mark, and Mark was born in Rockwell, Texas. Never heard of it? Most people haven't. Mark was the baby of 5 children in his family. There were only 4 years between all 5 kids. Just think about that. That's a whole lot of baby in diapers at the same time. In fact, as the baby, Mark was often forgot about in the mass chaos that was their household. They didn't have much, but they had each other, and they were a happy family until they weren't. When Mark was 8, Dad, who was a traveling salesman selling furniture, had an affair with his secretary, and a few weeks later, he ran off with her for good, leaving Mark's mom broke and saddled with 5 children who were still all under the age of 12. His mom, as you can imagine, was devastated. Her husband of 14 years and the father of her 5 children just picked up and left her and their once happy family for his secretary. How cliche and how devastating and soul-crushing for her. She was wrecked, but did everything she could to hide the gut-wrenching pain that she was in from her children. She had to get a job, of course, and back then, secretary jobs were mostly what would be available to her, and she didn't even know how to type. As she struggled through it, there wasn't enough money even to pay the electric bill. Mark recalls how the electric kept being turned off in their home. His mom did everything to try to make an adventure out of it, he said, declaring excitedly to the family that they were going to be camping inside their house for a couple of weeks. She'd set bed sheets over chairs to make tents to sleep under, and at night they'd all huddle in the dark family room around a single candle because, well, that's all they could do. She did everything she could to shield and distract her children from the lack of food and the dire economic situation that they were in. Things got so dire for her that she confessed to a friend that she contemplated putting herself and all 5 kids in a car and just driving off a cliff. That's how helpless and hopeless things got for her. Now, like all of us, but particularly being the youngest of 5, Mark starved for attention, and he got it by being the class clown. And I must admit, he is a funny dude. But Mrs. Patterson, his 2nd grade teacher, well, she did not find him amusing at all, to the point where she would physically hit him in class, in front of his classmates, while telling him that he was, quote unquote, good for nothing and would never amount to anything. This seemed to have emboldened the schoolyard bully, Steve Evans. Steve was 4 to 5 years older than Mark. After school, Steve would sit in the swing set, knowing that Mark had to pass right by to walk home. Mark admitted that most days he'd walk in the opposite direction just to avoid Steve, then do a wide loop, taking an extra hour or 2 to get home. But some days, Steve caught Mark, and he bullied him, mentally and physically. This went on for 2 years until his older brother Jimmy got word of it, and the Steve Evans problem was over. It was when he was witnessing his saint of a mother, as he calls her, try to make light of her agonizing stress, not being able to pay the basic utility bills that he vowed to himself. Lack of money would never cause him that kind of terrorizing pain. It was when Mark's teacher said that he was good for nothing and would never amount to anything when his superpower got triggered. Don't ever tell Mark he can't do something. Mark is tenacious, and I mean crazy tenacious, like a dog with a bone, he says. Mrs. Patterson was the spark that lit up that tenacious and irrepressible fight and fury inside. And Steve Evans? Well, Steve, he really done it. Steve is the one that awoke the beast, the incredible Hulk inside. You see, we all walk around looking like David Banner, frail, weak, insecure, and unsure of ourselves. But inside, inside is the incredible Hulk. You have superhuman strength inside. You just need to know how to awaken it. And sometimes it's someone outside of you that pokes that sleeping giant inside. Mark promised himself that no one would ever have power over him again, and no one would ever need to fight his battles for him ever again. This is what, in part, spurned Mark's fierce competitiveness. Here's what you need to know about Mark. You do not want to compete with Mark. And if you do, you're in for the fight of your life, because he'll do whatever it takes. He will outlearn you, outthink you, outwork you. When you're relaxing, he's thinking. When you're eating, he's thinking. When you're sleeping, he's thinking. He'll find a way to outsmart you. This C+ high school graduate will find a way every time to win. So think about it. What lit your fire? What did you witness growing up that has you say, never again? And who kicked the sleeping giant inside of you? Who was your Mrs. Patterson or Steve Evans? You remember how mad David Banner would get, which evoked the incredible Hulk inside him? That's how you got to get, man. Not wounded, not injured, mad. So the first step here is to make a different choice, choosing a different perspective, to see and understand your adversities as your advantage, as strength that gave you a growth advantage, that awakened the slumbering, incredible Hulk of your superpowers to action. Even after all of what Mark's father did to his family, when Mark graduated high school, he joined his father in the furniture business. After working together for many years, Mark wanted to expand the business, but his father did not, so he broke away on his own, but still in the furniture business. Mark went into wholesale, then retail stores, then manufacturing, then commercial interiors, then eventually commercial construction. By age 29, Mark had become a full-fledged millionaire, back when that was really something. To celebrate this monumental achievement, something no member of his family could have even dared to have ever achieved, he rented a limo and he picked his wife. Oh, by the way, Mark got married at the age of 17. Yeah, 17. That was the kind of thing that you did back where he was from. So Mark pulls up to their house in a big stretch limousine to take his wife out to celebrate. Once they're both in the limo, he gives her a gold watch and declares to her proudly, "I did it," which is really an incredible feat, particularly considering where he started from. But within less than a year of that limo ride, he lost it all. And by then, he also had a 1-year baby girl, Lauren. Mark recalls being so broke that in order to buy milk for his baby girl, he had to go to a gas station so he could use his Texaco gas card to charge it. What he was doing was not what he was meant to do. It was out of alignment with his true purpose, his mission, and his core values. While he succeeded at it for a time, there was something more. There was something different. There was something more authentic to him, not his father, that would give him the full use and leverage of his unique skills, talents, and superpowers. The right core values will not only guide you, they will define you. They will shape you into who you become, and ultimately the life that you will lead. Identifying and selecting your core values is not as easy and straightforward as it might sound. And they have to be strategically in alignment with who you are authentically and the purpose that you're here to fulfill. It's very likely that the core values you need to have to achieve your mission and your purpose are different than you think your core values are now. Mark started another company from his back bedroom. That's where it had to begin. That he grew to nearly $1 billion. And that brought him to Wall Street to ring the bell when it went public. And no joke, Mark since has built 50 plus other companies from scratch to acquisition. Some were sold in the 9-figure range. Now, if you do the math, that's, well, massive. And as the truism goes, you can judge a man by the woman who is willing to put up with him and still love him. So by that standard, Mark is absolutely one of the most successful men alive. As his wife, Jane, now together for 29 years, is one of the most amazing souls traversing the planet today. That's no joke. They have turned the hard work of their success into significance and making a life-changing difference to those in the most need. They were the driving force behind the not-for-profit Samaritan Inn that provides shelter, care, and transformation assistance for the homeless and for those that are trying to recover from extreme poverty, a kind of place Mark's family almost needed themselves. They additionally funded the 20-unit Gateway Transitional Housing apartment complex that's across the street from the inn, and 14 additional Habitat for Humanity homes. He lives in complete alignment with his life's purpose, mission, and superpowers. And today, this C-plus high school graduate, once bullied on the playground, told by his teacher he'd never amount to anything, is the owner, banker, developer, and operator of 4 rehabilitation hospitals, which is soon to be a total of 10, and has never been more on fire about life, striving for better, doing his great art, and continuing the never-ending pursuit of his greatness. What I am telling you is this, and if Mark were sitting here right now, what he would be telling you also is this, that if he can do it, undoubtedly, unquestionably, unequivocally, so can you. If you choose to. It's a choice. Remember, free will has also been given to you. So here's the choice you have to make.